Hey Gooners, it's Ava again, and today we are breaking down one of the most important away results Arsenal have produced in years. Sporting CP 0, Arsenal 1. A late winner in Lisbon, a clean sheet, and a one-goal advantage to take back to the Emirates. If you are new here, welcome to Ava Arsenal Analyst, the channel where we go deeper than the headlines. Stick around because this one has a lot of layers, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you will understand this result on a completely different level. Let's get into it. First, let's set the scene properly because context matters enormously here. The José Alvalade Stadium in Lisbon. 90 minutes gone. 1 minute of added time showing on the board. The place is absolutely electric. And Sporting CP, who had not lost at home in 17 consecutive games, were holding Arsenal to a goalless draw. Think about that. 17 games at home without a loss. This is not a soft venue. This is not a soft record. Opposing teams simply do not go to the Alvalade and win. The last team to do it before tonight was Porto, and that was back in August 2025. The last team to even keep a clean sheet there was Borussia Dortmund in February 2025. Arsenal were walking into a fortress. And here is the extra layer of pressure. Arsenal came into this game on the back of 2 consecutive defeats. 2. The questions were flying. The critics were sharpening their pens. Is this squad good enough? Does Arteta have the answers? Does this team have the character to go deep in the Champions League? And then, 90 minutes and 1 second into a tight, tense, suffocating Champions League quarterfinal first leg, Kai Havertz receives the ball inside the penalty area. Gabriel Martinelli plays him in with a pass of real quality. One touch to control, calm, composed feet, and the ball is in the net. Sporting CP 0, Arsenal 1. That is how you answer your critics. Now let's go through this properly, because the first half, if we're being honest, was not good from Arsenal. At halftime, the score was goalless. Sporting had 5 shots to Arsenal's 3. Sporting had 2 shots on target. Arsenal had 1. And the XG, the expected goals figure, showed Arsenal generated just 0.09 in the opening 45 minutes. To put that in context, that was the second lowest first-half XG Arsenal produced in the entire season. The only game where they created less in a first half was against Brighton in March, where the figure was 0.01. But here's the thing about Arsenal this season. They have learned how to win ugly. And winning ugly in a hostile European away ground in a Champions League quarterfinal is a genuine skill. Arteta set his team up to absorb pressure in the first half, keep it level, and trust the process. Arsenal had 52% possession at the break, 226 passes completed to Sporting's 209, but the possession was sterile. They were not penetrating. They were not creating real danger. Victor Gyökeres, their striker, had just 9 touches in that entire first half. 9. That was the fewest of any player on the pitch. If you cannot get the ball to your center forward, you are not functioning as an attacking unit. Simple as that. And the attacking players who started were struggling. Noni Madueke, 3 out of 10 in the player ratings. He attempted 9 crosses during the match and completed 0. 9 attempts, 0 successes. Alan Shearer said during the broadcast that Madueke was not getting balls into the box quickly enough, and I think that is fair. Leandro Trossard also earned a 3 out of 10 rating and was substituted at the same time. Trossard has now gone 19 matches without scoring. 19. That is a recurring theme this season, and one Arsenal will need to address seriously in the summer. 3 starters in attacking positions, none of them delivering what was needed. But here is the key. Arsenal were still 0-0. David Raya was doing what David Raya does, keeping the door shut while his teammates found their footing. Let's talk about David Raya, because his performance tonight cannot be understated. 5 saves, a clean sheet, 93% pass completion, a who scored rating of 8.58, and officially the UEFA Champions League Player of the Match. He now leads all goalkeepers in the Champions League this season with 7 clean sheets. Nobody else comes close. And after the match, it was Kai Havertz, the man who scored the winning goal, who went straight to talking about his goalkeeper. He said, and I want you to hear this clearly, that Raya is unbelievable, the best goalkeeper in the world, outstanding, and that he has saved Arsenal so many times. Think about that. Your striker scores the winning goal in the 91st minute of a Champions League quarter-final, and his first conversation is about his goalkeeper. That tells you everything. That is not just kindness from a teammate. That is a diagnosis of why the result was possible. Sporting had a higher XG than Arsenal. Sporting had more shots. Sporting hit the woodwork inside the opening 15 minutes. This was the first Champions League game this season where both teams hit the woodwork in the first quarter of an hour. Without Raya tonight, this could have been a Sporting victory. Full stop. And journalist Sam Dean put it plainly after the match. He said he is increasingly convinced that David Raya is Arsenal's most important player, perhaps even ahead of Declan Rice, perhaps even ahead of Gabriel Magalhaes. That is a significant statement, and based on what we saw tonight, it is very difficult to argue against it. Right. Now let's talk about the second half and what changed, because this is where Arteta deserves enormous credit. In the 70th minute, Arteta removed Martin Odegaard, his captain, the player who wears the armband, taken off in a Champions League quarter-final. That is a bold call. 6 minutes later, in the 76th minute, he made two more changes simultaneously. Gabriel Martinelli came on to replace Leandro Trossard, and Max Dowman replaced Noni Madueke. 3 substitutions in the space of 6 minutes. He was not tinkering, he was restructuring his entire attacking unit. He removed his captain, he removed both of his starting wingers. He put on 3 players with directness, energy, and intent. And within 20 minutes, the goal came. That is man management and tactical reading working in perfect harmony. And here is the stat that tells the full story. According to Opta, the Havertz goal was Arsenal's 4th Champions League goal this season that was both scored and assisted by substitute players. The 4th. And that is the most by any team in a single Champions League season in the history of the competition. Let that sink in. Arsenal's bench players have been more impactful in this Champions League campaign than any bench in the history of the tournament. That is not an accident. That is squad building. That is the culture Arteta has created. Before we go further, we need to talk about Declan Rice. Because while the starters around him struggled, Rice was absolutely world-class in this match. Opta Joe revealed after the game that Rice won possession 13 times against Sporting CP. 13. That is the most by any Arsenal midfielder in a Champions League knockout stage match since Mikel Arteta himself did the same against Bayern Munich in February 2013. 13 years ago. One observer described Rice as effectively a one-man midfield tonight. Zubimendi had a quiet evening. Odegaard struggled to influence things before being substituted. Rice covered for both of them. He intercepted, he pressed, he recycled possession. He kept Arsenal organized when the game threatened to slip away. There is a version of this result that looks very different without Declan Rice. Remember that. And while we are on the defensive side of things, let's acknowledge William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes. Both were outstanding. Saliba earned a 7.5 rating on SofaScore. Gabriel earned 6.8. Together, they form one of the best defensive partnerships in European football right now. And tonight was another example of that. Arsenal are the top-ranked team in the entire Champions League this season for goals conceded per game, XG against per game, shots on target faced per game, and fewest minutes spent trailing across the whole campaign. Those numbers do not happen by accident. They happen because of this central defensive partnership and the goalkeeper behind them. This back line is genuinely elite. And I think that sometimes gets overlooked when we talk about why Arsenal are doing what they are doing in Europe. Now, I want to give a special moment to Max Dowman, because this story deserves its own section. Dowman came on in the 76th minute as a substitute, and in doing so, he became, at 16 years and 97 days old, the youngest player in history to appear in the Champions League knockout stages. BBC Sport confirmed and reported this record officially. 16 years old, 97 days, playing in a Champions League quarterfinal away from home in a hostile atmosphere. And by all accounts, he handled it with maturity and intent. His rating was 6.7, which is solid for a player of any age in that environment, let alone a 16-year-old in the biggest stage of club football. The fact that Arteta trusted him enough to bring him on in a tight match at this stage of the competition tells you everything about how highly he is regarded internally at the club. Dowman is not a gimmick. He is a genuine prospect being developed in real time at the highest level, and Arsenal fans should be very excited about what is coming. Let's give Kai Havertz the moment he deserves, because this is bigger than just a winning goal. Havertz missed a full year of football through injury. He had setbacks during his recovery. His confidence was questioned, his place in the team was questioned. And yet, here he is, scoring in the 89th minute against Bayer Leverkusen in March. And now, scoring in the 91st minute against Sporting CP in April. Big goals, crucial goals. Goals that win matches. BBC Match of the Day put the two moments side by side and called him the man for the big occasion, again, for Arsenal. That is a reputation being built in real time, goal by goal, minute by minute. And after the match, Havertz said something that I think will resonate with every single Arsenal fan watching this. He said, 7 weeks to go, we can win big titles, and we are going to go for them. 7 weeks. Big titles. We are going for them. From a man who has lived through injury, doubt, and criticism. From a man who just scored the winning goal in a Champions League quarterfinal away from home. Those words carry weight. He is not fantasizing. He is speaking from evidence. And I believe him. Let's go through what Arteta said after the match, because it was revealing on multiple levels. On the game overall, he said he was very happy because it was a big night for the club and a big night in the season. He acknowledged they wanted to be crisper, but was pleased with the result. On David Raya, Arteta kept it beautifully simple. He said Raya is extraordinary and incredible, and with that, it is enough. No overcomplication, just the truth. But the most important thing Arteta said was about how the squad responded to the 2 consecutive defeats leading into this match. He said the best thing you can do in a difficult period is observe. You see how players react. You see how they look at you. You see how they judge you. Do they start to criticize other people? He said he cannot be prouder to be at a club where all they do is ask how they can help. Read that again. When things go wrong at big clubs, the first reaction is often blame, division, finger-pointing. Arteta is describing the exact opposite. A group that turns inward and asks how to help rather than who to blame. That kind of environment, that kind of culture, produces nights exactly like this one. The goal, the clean sheet, the resilience, the substitutions working perfectly. All of it starts with the culture Arteta has built. Now let's zoom out completely, because when you look at Arsenal's full Champions League record this season, what you see is extraordinary. Athletic Club 0, Arsenal 2. Arsenal 2, Olympiacos 0. Arsenal 4, Atletico Madrid 0. Arsenal 3, Slavia Prague 0. Arsenal 3, Bayern Munich 1. Club Brugge 0, Arsenal 3. Arsenal 3, Kairat 2. Bayer Leverkusen 1, Arsenal 1. Arsenal 2, Bayer Leverkusen 0. And now, Sporting CP 0, Arsenal 1. 10 wins and 1 draw. From 11 matches. Arsenal remain the only unbeaten team in the Champions League this season. Say that record out loud. They beat Atletico Madrid 4-0. They beat Bayern Munich 3-1. They drew at Bayer Leverkusen and then won the second leg 2-0. These are not soft opponents. These are giants of European football. And Arsenal have handled every single one of them. This is not a team scraping through on luck. This is a team dominating Europe. And one final stat to put a bow on everything. Arsenal have recorded 38 goal involvements from substitute players across all competitions this season, 24 goals and 14 assists from players who came off the bench. That is more than any other team across Europe's top 5 leagues. More than Real Madrid, more than Manchester City, more than Bayern Munich, more than Paris Saint-Germain. The depth at Arsenal this season is historically significant. And on a night where 3 starters in attacking positions all struggled, it was the bench that won the game. Havertz with the goal, Martinelli with the assist. That is what genuine squad depth looks like at elite level. So let me bring everything together. Arsenal traveled to Lisbon to face a Sporting CP side that had not lost at home in 17 games. They came in off the back of 2 consecutive defeats with serious questions being asked about their character. The first half was tight, goalless, and low on attacking quality. Arteta made bold substitutions. Havertz came on, Martinelli came on, Dowman came on and made history. And in the 91st minute, it was done. Sporting 0, Arsenal 1. The second leg is next week at the Emirates. Arsenal go into it with a 1-goal advantage, a clean sheet, and the kind of momentum that comes from winning ugly in the most difficult circumstances. If they play anything close to their best football on home soil, the semifinals are within reach. And this squad, on this form, with this mentality, is absolutely capable of going all the way. This has been Ava, Arsenal analyst. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit subscribe, drop a comment below with your prediction for the second leg, and share this video with every Gooner you know. The story is far from over, and we will be here to break down every single moment of it together. See you next time. Come on, Arsenal!